going to be an abdominals focus class. It is going to start involving more the superficial abdominal muscles, so you need to stay really focused in on your Pilates principles of engaging through your deeper centre, your pelvic floor. If you haven't already watched the introductory video that explains how to engage all of that and all of the other principles of Pilates, then please do have a watch of that to get the most out of this class. And the other thing is, don't come into this cold, do the warm up first, because we're going to go straight into it with these abdominal exercises. So if you're warmed up, come on down onto the mat to get started with some Pilates hundreds. Make sure that you find neutral spine first, feet to hip width, comfortable distance from your bottom. You've just had a tip and a tilt of your pelvis to make sure the belly button and pubic bone are about level with each other, and you've got that comfortable space behind your low back. Arms just light on the mat. Length through the back of the neck. Use an out breath to bring yourself up into either one leg or two leg tabletop, depending on what level you're working at. Knees over hips, lower legs parallel to the mat. And we're going to take a breath in and an out breath to float the arms up off the mat. And we're doing hundreds, we're just pulsing the arms for 100 little pulses, aiming for 5 little pulses per breath in. Keep your breath nice and slow and steady, and 5 little pulses per breath out. So all the time you're looking at stillness through the lower body, neutral through the low back and pelvis, engaged through your centre, connection of the ribs to the hips here, so the ribs are heavy and soft. And you're sending your breath as you deepen it into the outer ribs, trying to aim the breath out into those lower ribs and push them out sideways. Keep your chin gently tucked so the back of the neck's long, and it's just keeping pulsing. Try not to lose control of that position. Try and boost your strength, especially as you start tiring, with the pelvic floor drawing up through those bladder control muscles. If you want to add to this exercise when you become more sort of proficient at it and you feel that you need the extra challenge, you can add weights into the hands, or you can start bringing yourself forward into that crunch or that abdo prep position where you've drawn your ribs towards your hip bones here, shortening that space between them at the front. You still look between your thighs. It's like you're holding a small piece of fruit underneath your chin. Keep breathing as you pulse the last ones out. I'll count you down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then rest down. One leg at a time back to the mat. Good, so that's woken them up. We'll carry on working with those abdominals from our rest position. So starting with scissors, just simply some out breath, up, in breath, down movements. Moving from the hip joints, keeping the knee angles consistent. You just come up to the point where the knee is over the hip joint. So a vertical thigh position. When you're ready to start making it more challenging, you can hover the arms up off the mat, feeling that extra workload in your lower abdominals when you do add that in. Good. Of course, you could add weights into the hands as well to make it more challenging at this point. Just build up those little additions as you feel you need the extra challenge. They're always optional, and it's only worth adding them if you need the challenge, not to be competitive with yourself or anybody else. Good, let's rest the arms down. We'll come straight into level 2 scissors. Starting from our tabletop position this time, check your low tummy is engaged, it's flat, you're drawing up from inside, and then out breath, a heel down, opening that hip joint angle and back. Out breath down, in breath back. Keep going with these. Okay, we're actually going to take it up to level 3 and 4 of scissors, but you can stick to this level 2 here if you don't need the extra challenge. Okay, and the next one we're going to leave the heel down, so we're in one leg tabletop. Out breath to switch the legs over. Pause. Out breath to switch. So you're only ever moving on the out breath and having a breath in while you pause. And for our last one, for our level 4, if you want it, you start switching on the in and the out breath. This is where you really need to draw on those pelvic floor muscles to make sure that you're keeping your core, your centre engaged, and you're not too dominant in the upper abdominals or the hip flexors. Keep the arms light on the mat, relax through the shoulders and neck. Last couple. And when you come out of this position, one and the other leg down. Good. Reposition if you need to. We're going to take it to a double leg stretch, and this is a lovely opportunity to open those hip flexors back out again. Really stretch and open if they did tighten up a bit with those scissors. So you out breath the heel to slide away, in breath it back. We're just starting to focus in on opening the front of the hip without the low back pulling away from the mat at all. So maintaining your neutral spine. Okay, we're going to add in arms. So you can, if you want to, add weights, but you don't need to. Optional. So as hands start pointing up towards the ceiling, you should be able to feel your shoulder blades behind your upper back. You're still in neutral, centre engaged. And as the heel slides away this time, the arms come up overhead. In breath back. So the feet and the hands are moving away from each other. But we're only taking the arms overhead to the point where the ribs don't flare, they stay connected. So if you feel like your ribs are going to lift up and away from the mat behind, you stop before that happens. So they may not reach the mat behind you, they may stop short of that. It's all about maintaining your position through the centre of your body while these big joints open. Good, we're going to take it up after this one to the next level. So keeping the hands pointing towards the ceiling, bring the legs up into tabletop position. We're going to start with a couple with just the arms coming up overhead. So out breath, in breath back. Out breath, in breath back. And when you're ready, if you want to, you can start adding in the heel push away. This time in space. Push towards the opposite wall and then in. Push the other leg, opposite wall, in. And keep going, alternating legs slowly with your controlled breath. Keep that low tummy really flat and back towards your spine. Don't let it dome up towards the ceiling. Keep drawing up and in through the pelvic floor to control that. And if you need to at any point, just bring the heels back to the mat, because you can keep working, but by sliding the heels on the mat instead. Last couple. Well done. Rest the hands down and the legs. All right. Our last one on our backs are abdo preps. So we'll keep these balls here in case we want to use them as we lift the arms to the sides. So we're going to be coming into that little crunch. You keep your arms alongside you unless you need to rest the weight of your head in your hands, in which case you can keep them here. But we're going to float the arms up the side like that hundreds position. Have a breath in, and then out breath forward to crunch, drawing the ribs towards the hips, looking between the thighs while you breathe in, and then lower. So very slow ones. Breathing in to stay, and then lower. So it's crucial that you don't shut the space down behind your low back. You just come forward as far as you can without losing that space. Don't ever tip the pelvis back so the low back contacts with the mat. Remember, we're working in neutral spine. And if you want to challenge yourself while you're forward there having your breath in, you can go for a lift and lower of the arms. And the important thing is keeping the upper body forward, always keeping it there while you load the weight up, to make it more challenging to hold the upper body forwards there by adding weight and lowering back down. Make this the last one. And rest. Good. So we'll come into some oblique versions of those where you do have one hand behind your head. So if you have a head support, you can take that out so you can put a hand in instead. Resting the weight of your head. The other arm is alongside, just hovering. We're going to do double time on these oblique ones. So that you out breath across, in breath back. We're coming across on a diagonal with the shoulder towards the opposite hip. So you don't pull through the elbow, you keep the elbow out nice and wide, just in your peripheral vision. And it's not a crunch and twist, it's one diagonal movement of the shoulder towards the opposite hip. You keep that long arm hovering, it reaches away with the fingertips as far away as you can reach. And you're still not closing that space down behind your low back. Keep that intact. Don't tip back into it. Last couple. And down, ready to swap. So same thing on the other side. Elbows out just so you can see it out the corner of your eye. Other arm hovering, neutral spine, out breath across. Well done, last two. And rest. Give your knees a hug in for a nice and well-deserved stretch to your low back. Really hug them, rock them if you want to. Let your head have a roll from side to side. Ease out any tension in your neck before we change position. So now we're going to come onto our sides. Just for clam, not much abdominal work inside lying, but of course we're always keeping the centre engaged, always working on those low abdominals for pelvic position control. So you want your shoulders, hips and heels in line. If you're working at level 2, keep the heels up. Make sure you maintain that little gap underneath your waist. Try and keep this top hand away from the mat. And we're going to work on the out breath to lift the knee, open the hip. In breath, slow, controlled level. So you're keeping the heels pressing together, pivoting around that point as you open the hip from behind. Really squeezing into those glutes in the back pocket area. Remember to keep length through both sides of the waist. Lengthen the neck so the shoulders drawn back and down away from the ear. It's nice and open through the front of the shoulder. That shoulder blade is heading into your back pocket. Gently keeping the chin tucked into the back of the neck long. If you need to put this hand down, you can lightly. Try not to rely on it, because we're looking to rely on these muscles here. to control our position. You're going for a couple more. Remember, you can add resistance to these clam exercises if you put a band or a ring around above the knee joints, not on the knee joints. Make sure it's above. Last one. And back. Good. Have a push up into sitting. So with these roll-ups, if you've seen them before, you'll remember I like to sit on a block. I haven't got a big one with me, so I'll go for just this little one. You can sit on a larger block than this, like triple the height of this one actually. Okay, so you can have the legs bent with the feet flat, or you can have the legs out long. Now, some people find with the knees bent that they get an uncomfortable sort of clunk through the hip. It's just a sort of a rolling over a tendon that goes flick, and it's quite disconcerting, although not painful. It sometimes eases if the legs are out straight. So you choose which one works better for you. Take the arms out straight, drop the shoulders away from the ears, keep those shoulder blades actively working down into the pockets. Have a breath in here, and then out breath to tip back into your low back. So you're curving it off. Curving your low back into a C shape, and then in breath forward to rebuild the spine. So you out breath, tip back. It's like you're tipping water out the back of your pelvis if it was a bucket. And when you can't round it any further, you draw forward and rebuild it. So it's not a leaning back, it's a tipping and curving back. But actually you stay quite upright through the upper body. You're really trying to make this a lower spine movement, keeping the chest quite elevated. So you're actually moving your lower back underneath that upper body portion. Keep going if you can. For a couple more before we take it to an oblique version. One more. And our oblique version, if you can come straight into it, is to roll back and put a twist on. In breath up. Straight into the other side. Twist. We're alternating. Rolling back and twist. Make sure you keep those hip bones at the front there, pointing forward like headlights. It's just the upper body that twists around. And you only go as low with that elbow as you can maintain your weight sitting on both sitting bones equally, with the hip bones pointing forward. After this one, just one more to each side. Make sure you keep the shoulder tops away from your ears, don't let them creep up. Back of the neck stays long. And rest. Good. We'll come to the other side for our clam. So coming into that side lying position again. Take a moment to find good position before you start. Lifting the heels up for level 2, keeping the heels pressing into each other, centre engage long through both sides of the waist, and then out breath up. In breath down. Remember your upper body position as well, don't neglect it. Your upper body should be quite relaxed and just positioned in nice alignment. Remember at the top there, if you can press your heels together and squeeze a bit more height from the knee, you'll get a lovely strong contraction into your glutes. Last couple. And then rest down. Good. We're going to finish our abdominal session in 4-point kneeling, or in a crawl position, box position, with First of all, some swimming form, or you might know them as Superman. We want to be shoulders over hands, hips over knees. You can, if you want to, start with the arms, take it to the legs and then combine the two. So I'll do a couple to demonstrate that. Keep the shoulders away from your ears, the back of the neck long, so you're looking straight down between your hands. Out breath, one hand forward. In breath back. And the other. In breath back. Take it to the legs, pushing the leg away and back. So really think of it as away rather than up, pushing the toes away. Feel the glutes kick in, but you don't need to get the leg higher than the hip. You're really aiming to keep that pelvis level, so you're not tipping it from side to side or dumping into your low back and losing that lovely neutral spine position. When you're ready, start combining the two. So we're out breathing, arm and leg away, in breathing them back. Other side. In breath back. Now you can add weight to this because you can use the small balls in your hands, or you can use band, you can use resistance band. But I like to just work with the weight of the limbs actually and focus on that precision of movement. You can add into it, because you can add a hold here for a breath in, and then come back. Gives you a chance to breathe in, regroup, out breath the other side. In breath to hold, come back. So keep working there. I'm going to give you one more add-on as an option. Out breath out, breathe in to hold, out breath out to the side, so the arm and the leg go in opposite directions, come in and down. Again, out breath away, pause, out breath out to the sides. So it's like they're sliding on a flat surface, back and in. One more to each side, out, breath out and away. In breath back, in, last one, out, in and down. Great. So our very last one, from the same position, we'll do some leg pull and prone preps, which are plank preps. A really safe way of working towards full plank exercises. Start with the toes tucked under. I'll show you a couple at level 1 first. Shoulders are away from the ears, back of the neck's long. You prepare with an in-breath and then out-breath the knees to hover off the mat. Just keep them hovering just a fraction off the mat for a breath in and then lower. Simple as that. Out-breath up, pause to hover and then lower. Really make sure when you take that breath in while you're resting that you engage your pelvic floor, because then when you hover the knees up, it will focus the effort well into your low tummy. That deep core area that we're looking to work. And if you're wanting to work on your level 2 version of this exercise, just take the knees and hips back so you open the shoulder joints up more. Toes are tucked under just the same, and you start with the hover, but then you slide into a full plank for a breath in. And then come back to the hover before you lower. So the breathing is to out-breath up and out. Breathe in while you're there, and then come back on an out-breath to lower. Couple more, whichever version you're working on, keep going for a couple more. If you're feeling really strong, you can add a little push up here while you're out here. So you can do one push up and then come back and down. Just a little option. Lift, slide into the plank, a little push up there. It doesn't have to be a big one. And lower. Good. Walk yourself back. And do make sure you take time to do a cool down stretching session, either one of the sitting ones, standing ones or lying ones. Hope you've enjoyed it.